الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين. فقد قال جل وعلا في كتابه المجيد وفرقان الحميد بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فإن تولوا فإنما عليك البلاغ المبين يعرفون نعمة الله ثم ينكرونها وأكثرهم الكافرون. صدق الله العظيم. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام بلغوا عني ولو آية أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Honorable elders, respected brothers, mothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not only created us for a purpose, which is for us to worship Him. He has created us for us to worship, to make Him happy and attain His pleasure. But in attaining His pleasure, and from the very many different types of worship that Allah has granted us, such as the obligation of the salah, such as the obligation of the siyam, such as the obligation of zakah, and so on and so forth. There is one particular obligation each and every single one of us has, which is a responsibility upon us, yet we discard and disregard it. And what is this responsibility that I am referring to? It is the particular task which was given to all of the prophets that have come, and that is in spreading the noble message and teachings of Islam. The misconception that has permeated through the minds of each and every single one of us is that we come to think and believe that I am not a scholar, I am not an individual that has learned in Islam, therefore it is not my responsibility, nay, it is not my duty to go out and share and spread this noble message. We may not verbalize this, but through our actions, maybe subconsciously, we may think this and follow this or adopt this. What I am referring to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Surah Al-Nahl, verse 82 and 83, He goes on to mention, and this was addressed to the Prophet, which He goes on to say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فإن تولوا فإنما عليك البلاغ المبين يعرفون نعمة الله ثم ينكرونها وأكثرهم الكافرون. This is in regards to when an individual spreads or shares the message of Islam, and individuals are not listening. Individuals are not paying heed to what is being said when you are sharing it. It's in regards to that. فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا. But if they turn away, فَإِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ. But if they turn away, then your duty, O Prophet of Allah, is only to deliver the message clearly. This is Allah Ta'ala addressing the Prophet of Allah. And Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, when He addresses the Prophet of Allah, it is a message for us as well. In this particular verse, He is telling the paragon of His creation, the best creation to ever walk the face of this earth. He is telling him that your responsibility is to share and deliver the message, the responsibility of turning and guiding the hearts is solely in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we learn and understand from the story, from the noble uncle, from the uncle of our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Talib, the same individual who took care of Prophet Muhammad after the demise of his grandfather Abdul Muttalib. When he had become an orphan, he had lost his father, he had lost his mother. His grandfather who was taking care of him had also passed on. The individual that raised him was Abu Talib. And Abu Talib not only raised him when Prophet Muhammad received prophethood, it was Abu Talib, out of respect for Abu Talib, the kuffar, the mushrikun of Makkah wouldn't do anything to him out of respect for him, even though Abu Talib was not a Muslim. And not only did the Prophet of Allah continue to share the message, not only did he continue to teach and tell him to accept, but the guidance in his heart did not penetrate. To the extent that on his deathbed, on Abu Talib's deathbed, the Prophet of Allah told him that all you need to do is say the kalima and I'll take care of the rest. But out of the fear of what his people would say regarding Abu Talib, he did not accept. This goes to show that if the Prophet of Allah, being the best of Allah's creation, being the one that was burdened with the responsibility of spreading the message of Islam in his entirety, if he was unable to change the hearts, then who are you and I to think that when we share a message about Islam, we share knowledge regarding Islam, or we speak to non-Muslims regarding Islam and they don't listen, they may debate back, or they may not listen to what we are saying, or they're not, listen, they may not be changing. That doesn't mean you become despondent. That doesn't mean you start to say, well, I already told them once, not listening, so forget it. No, that's not our responsibility. Our job, as what we are taught from the Prophet of Allah and from the Quran, is that you continue to spread the message. You continue to share. Then, in the following verse, goes on to say, يعرفون نعمة الله ثم ينكرونها وأكثرهم الكافرون. The individuals that it's being referred to here are the non-believers, are the non-believers. Referring to them, they are aware of Allah's favors. يعرفون نعمة الله ثم ينكرونها. But still they deny them. They still deny the favors of Allah. ثم ينكرونها وأكثرهم الكافرون. And most of them truly are ungrateful. Meaning most of them are ungrateful. Notice the wording, most of them. Meaning that the message of Islam, when you share it, you and I, when I say you and I, I'm referring to all of us, we don't know who will be guided. That's why Allah Ta'ala numerous times in the Quran, He says, يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. That Allah Ta'ala guides towards the straight path whomsoever He wills. From these verses, we understand a particular point. That the question may arise that, yes, I may wish to deliver the message, but I don't have a lot of knowledge. Now, this is where the second point of this discussion arrives. The concept of serving the deen, serving the religion, is not, number one, it is not specific to one type of person or a group of people. Many people fall into this misconception that I'm not a scholar, I'm not an imam, so, it's their responsibility, it's not mine. That's incorrect. The reason that's incorrect is the job and role of the scholars and the imam is of one aspect of deen. There are numerous ways for an individual to serve the deen and to serve Islam. What are some ways and forms that you can serve the deen? When an individual, such as somebody who is attending high school or university, and they're establishing MSAs, and they're setting up the booths, and they're setting up programs for which other students and individuals that are in the building can learn about Islam, or they're sharing pamphlets regarding Islam, or they're sharing translations of the Quran and spreading it out and handing it out. That is one form of spreading the deen. When you are in your workplaces and you have to go pray, and you tell your colleagues or whoever, I need to pray. Just that mere fact that they know that you're going to pray is a form of da'wah in it of itself. Because sooner or later somebody will ask you, why are you praying? Why do Muslims pray 5 times a day? It is not that you go up and you start preaching to them. It is in the manner in which how you approach it. It is in the conversations that you have, that you share 1-2 things about Islam. It is when you're interacting through your akhlaq. That's why the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. When you tell somebody that, yeah, I pray, that's not going to have as much of an effect as when you're actually in the workplace and you're engrossed in the work. But you see the time and you know it's time for salah and you get up and you say, I'm going to pray. And then that person will think that this person has this much dedication, that despite his work, despite everything else, this guy's taking time out. This brother or sister is taking time out to go pray. That will make them inquisitive. That will make them curious. And it is in those moments in which you share a word or two regarding what is Islam, what do you do, why do you worship, why do you pray 5 times a day. And never fall into this trap of the shaitan to think that you don't have enough knowledge that you cannot speak about Islam. Because what if you say something wrong? That is the deception of shaitan. He wishes to deceive you from sharing the noble message of Islam. The fact that you and I, every single one of us sitting here today, has come for this Friday Jumaah prayer, this means that not only has Iman penetrated our heart, we have some knowledge regarding Islam. And the fact that we have, even if it may be little, it means we have the knowledge. And therefore, whatever we do know, we share. And if we don't know something, it is as simple to say that I don't know, but I will find out and I will let you know. I don't know the answer to the question that you have asked, but I will find out and I will let you know. Just because you don't know something doesn't mean that now you start lying about things. It just means that the things you do know about, you can share and talk about and speak about. And not only do we share by speaking, our akhlaq play a huge role. And what do I mean by that? For example, for those of us that are in our workplaces, that are in our schools, universities, the way we interact with our professors and teachers, the way we interact with our colleagues, individuals are not going to say that guy is like that, especially if they know you are a Muslim. The impression that will be imprinted in their hearts will be Muslims lie, Muslims cheat. The last time I did a business dealing with a Muslim, he lied to me. The last time I did a transaction with a Muslim guy, he cheated me. The last time I spoke to a Muslim, he was deceiving me. The things that will come out of their mouth will not be that this so-and-so did that. They will generalize it. So we must be mindful that how we carry and conduct ourselves does not only have a reflection upon ourselves, but the entirety of the Muslim Ummah. The entirety of the Muslim Ummah. So let us not fall into this misconception. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to be ambassadors of Islam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He use us and accept us for the service of Deen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those individuals through whom Allah guides towards Islam. I share with you a personal story. 3 months back, I found out that there were two brothers that I went to high school with, that they had embraced Islam. And when I met them, first off, I congratulated them and I welcomed them and we spoke. But the one question I asked them, these were individuals that I would see on a regular basis back in high school. But it would never cross my mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had written guidance for such individuals. They go on to say that I asked them that, what is it about Islam that really brought you close to Islam? What is it that actually allowed you to come back and accept? And what they responded with was that we didn't look at the Muslims. We didn't only look at the Muslims of what they're doing or how they are. We actually studied about Islam. We read through the Quran. That one individual, both of them have read the Quran cover to cover. And when I say read, they've read it in English, meaning the translation. And the other individual told me, I've done it twice. I've read it from cover to cover twice. And I was awestruck in hearing that. How many of us sitting here today can say, with our hands on our heart, and say that I have read the Quran cover to cover? Let alone in the Arabic language. Let alone in Arabic. For those of us that do not understand Arabic, how many of us have read a translation of the Quran cover to cover? We have non-Muslims, Allah guided their hearts, but we have non-Muslims that in search of it, they weren't even Muslim yet, but in search of it, they read it cover to cover. But we were gifted, we were blessed with this noble religion of Islam, yet we do not take time out to read and understand what the Quran is telling us. Such a shame it is for us. Such a shame it is for us that despite being given this bounty, despite being given this noble treasure, we neglect it. We show our respect by placing it on the shelves. We show our respect by when we have it, we kiss it. We show our respect that, when it's being recited, we'll stay quiet. Yes, that is all from the adab of the Quran. But it is also from the adab of the Quran that you take time out and learn about the Quran. Not only should you recite, but understand what the Quran is telling us. This is why the number one thing I share with every person I try and come across, I try my best, is that I'm not telling you that you sit down and you start spending 2, 3, 4 hours a day. Every single day, before school, before work, before you do anything, take out a translation. For those of us that understand Arabic, again, continue to recite in Arabic. But for those of us that do not understand the Arabic language, take a translation of the Quran in whatever language you feel most comfortable in, and start reading the translation 5 minutes a day. That will be a few verses. Recite it in Arabic and read it in English or whatever language you feel comfortable. 5 minutes. If you tell me, well, I'm too busy, I can't take 5 minutes out of my day, then stop scrolling on your social media for 5 minutes and take time out to actually recite and learn what the Quran is telling us. Regarding this Quran and how great it is, Allah Ta'ala tells us, He says, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. Allah tells us that لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل, that if we were to have revealed this Quran upon a mountain, we know how massive mountains are. Whether you look in the west towards the BC side or throughout the world, we know how massive mountains are. Allah says that if we were to reveal this glorious Quran upon the mountains, لَرَأَيْتَهُ خَاشِعًا مُتَصَدِّعًا مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ, that you would see the mountains crumble out of awe and fear of Allah, because of how powerful this Quran is. And Allah goes on to say, and finish the verse off by saying, that Allah has placed in it examples for those individuals, for those of us that do tadabbur, that reflect upon the ma'ani of the Quran, upon what the Quran is telling us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those individuals that reflect upon the Quran. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those that become consistent in reciting and understanding the Quran. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us ambassadors of Islam. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to use us and allow us to be the means for somebody to enter the folds of Islam or come back closer to Islam. Ameen, ameen, ameen. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله. الحمد لله علي الذات عظيم الصفات سمي السمات كبير الشان جليل القدر رفيع الذكر مطاع الأمر جلي البرهان فخيم الاسم غزير العلم وسيع الحلم كثير الغفران جزيل الثناء جزيل العطاء مجيب الدعاء عميم الإحسان سريع الحساب شديد العقاب أليم العذاب عزيز السلطان ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر وأصدقهم حياء عثمان وقضاهم علي وفاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة والحسن والحسين سيدا شباب أهل الجنة وحمزة أسد الله وأسد رسوله رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين اللهم اغفر للعباس وولده مغفرة ظاهرة وباطنة لا تغادر ذنبا الله في أصحابي لا تتخذوهم غرضا من بعدي فمن أحبهم فبحبي حبهم ومن أبغضهم فببغضي أبغضهم وخير أمتي قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين في كل مكان واغفر اللهم لجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والحمد لله رب العالمين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى وأعز وأجل وأتم وأهم وأكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون أقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So please make sure all the rows are filled in. There are no gaps left between individuals and our cell phones are switched off. Jazakumullah. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه يسأل أيان يوم القيامة فإذا برق البصر وخسف القمر وجمع الشمس والقمر يقول الإنسان يومئذ أين المفر كلا لا وزر إلى ربك يومئذ المستقر ينبأ الإنسان يومئذ بما قدم وأخر بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة ولو ألقى معاذيره لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه ثم إن علينا بيانه كلا بل تحبون العاجلة وتذرون الآخرة وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة ووجوه يومئذ باسرة تظن أن يفعل بها فاقرة كلا إذا بلغت التراقي وقيل من راق وظن أنه الفراق والتفت الساق بالساق إلى ربك يومئذ المساق فلا صدق ولا صلى ولكن كذب وتولى ثم ذهب إلى أهله يتمطى أولى لك فأولى ثم أولى لك فأولى أيحسب الإنسان أن يترك سدى ألم يك نطفة من مني يمنى ثم كان علقة فخلق فسوى فجعل منه الزوجين الذكر والأنثى أليس ذلك بقادر على أن يحيي الموتى الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just some announcements. Inshallah, just to remind you again, we are under the building of medical, and there's a lot of sick people that comes and they have appointments. I have to remind you again, please be mindful to the parking. The worst we could do to be a bad neighbors as a Muslims. That's the last thing we want to do, and the last impression we want to give, please. So bear in mind, if you can walk a little bit, there's a lot of plazas. You can park there and then you come, inshallah. It's only 1 hour, and then, inshallah, after that we can park. In our halaqas, everything we have like about 20 parkings. But we have to be mindful, inshallah. That's the first thing. Second thing, inshallah, our halaqa, Riyadh Salihin, Shaykh Ahmed, he's doing the Hijrah section, which will be today after Maghrib time, inshallah. For those who's interested, please come and attend that very, very beneficial seerah, inshallah. If you have any other questions regarding anything, also you can ask me. Our school, alhamdulillah, is doing very well. Registration is open as this September at the weekend school, which we teach Aqidah, Islamic curriculum, and Quran. Please come and register for that one too, inshallah. I also have the last message that I want to give, inshallah, for those people who made commitment in Ramadan and did the pledges. Please fulfill your promise and make sure you're already paid, because we expect so much from a masjid activities, but the admin is running after the donator the whole year. There is no time to do any other things. So we want to do a lot of stuff. We want to do da'wah. There's a lot of stuff that we want to do. But let this not hold us back as an admin. Going every month, calling the people. If you make sure you did your pledges, you pay it. We have so many ways to do that, inshallah. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just heard that there's a black Tesla that's blocking a brother, or